Hello, boys and girls. I'm about to tell you some of my favorite little ideas and stories about one of my favorite animals, honestly. And you know what that animal is? Of course you do. What do you think? What do you see behind me? A whole bunch of little dogs, right? You know, dogs are as different as people. There's big, tall dogs with long, funny faces, and there's cute little dogs with pudgy noses, and they all look so different. And did you ever notice that dogs start to look like their masters? The people and the dogs look similar, maybe? Maybe they just have the same, I don't know, spirit of happiness and love between them. Let's see what dogs teach us, shall we? Well, the next slide shows you us in heaven, children in heaven, people in heaven. And what do you see in the corner? There's a dog. Yes, Jesus finds ways to make people happy because he really does care about our happiness. In fact, he tells us to be like children. And how can we be like children? We trust God. We give him all our worries, all our troubles, and we know that he promises to live with us forever, that he has a new heaven for us. And meanwhile, while we're waiting for the new heaven, he gives us little tokens of his love. And one of those tokens can be a dog. Not everyone can have a dog, and that's okay too. But in the world I live in, there are many dogs that have lost their homes because of tornadoes or hurricanes or floods, and they're in shelters and they need people to take them in. So I'm hoping to get one soon. I'll get a dog and give it a home that otherwise wouldn't have a home. We shall see. That'll be one of my new stories coming up. I'll introduce you to my new dog. Let's see the next slide. Ah, what do you see here? The man looks very tired and sad, and the dog is there beside him, sharing and comforting him. See, God uses dogs to comfort people, especially when people have been through some difficult emotions. Sometimes dogs, you feel like you can tell all your troubles to your dog, and your dog will say, I love you. It's very nice. Let's see the next slide. Well, this is why I'm calling this story Man's Best Friend. And if you look at the picture, you'll see there's a Siberian Husky. We just went by a Siberian Husky about 3 days ago. Somebody was walking their dog, and it was one of those blue-eyed Siberian Huskies. And then I see a little white lab. I think that's a little white lab, perhaps, puppy. And then there's a Charleston Springer, I'm guessing. I don't know. Down here I see a Dalmatian, and this other little dog, I don't know what it is. It's not a Pomeranian, but there are so many dogs that you could spend hours looking at pictures of dogs and finding out how many varieties there are. It seems that the imagination of God is so great and wonderful, the way that he made animals and dogs to have many different varieties. I wonder what kind of dog you would like. Let's see the next slide. Aw, look, what are dogs doing here? These dogs are comforting each other, aren't they? It looks so cute. Dogs have a camaraderie. That means that they live in together packs. And do you know why that is? Dogs like to be together and they care about each other because scientists believe that the dogs were originally wolves. Let's look at the next slide. Yes, wolves are incredible animals. In fairy tales, they try to make us afraid of wolves. But in reality, there was a man named Farley Mowat, and Farley Mowat went and lived among the wolves. He hid in a little cave and he watched everything they did. And he did this for so long that he felt like he was a wolf. And he wrote a book about them. And the book is called Never Cry Wolf. But we don't know how our dogs came out of wolves, but we know that there are many types of dogs. But they began like packs of wolves. That's possibly true. And we know that the wolves all travel together and have communication by the way they talk. But that's another slide. We'll come up to that later. Let's see the next slide. Okay. Let me see if I can move my head out of the way. Go away. Yes. Well, are dogs mentioned in the Bible in a good way or in a bad way? In ancient Israel, people had a different view of dogs. Dogs are the only animals with the ability to bark. So because of their barking, they became useful for hunting and herding. And dogs in the Bible were used for these purposes. So what did the dogs hunt? They hunted foxes. And over here they herded the sheep. Yep. So Isaiah 56:11 talks about greedy dogs, which can never have enough. And they are shepherds that can't understand and they look to their own way. Well, that word dog in that place is saying they're acting like people in this story were acting like greedy dogs, always taking and not sharing. That would not be the people of God, I hope. Now, dogs are mentioned in the book of Job, but now those younger than I mock and laugh at me, whose fathers I refused to put with the sheepdogs of my flock, but now they mock me. So dogs are mentioned in Job. Let's see another place. This is one of my favorite places. Matthew 15. Here is a woman. She's asking for Jesus to help heal. She's saying, Lord, please help. She's kneeling before him, and Jesus tests her faith. He says, it's not right to take the children's bread and toss it to the dogs. But the woman is not held back by that. Yes, true, Lord, she said. But even the dogs eat the crumbs that fall from their master's table. The woman is saying, even if you think of me as less than your own disciples and your own people, can't I have a crumb? I'm desiring of a crumb. And of course, Jesus loves her faith and he rewards it. So dogs are mentioned in some kind of a different way in the Bible. But as we have evolved meaning time has gone by, not evolved out of monkeys, but time has gone by, we believe that Jesus is going to reward us one day for being faithful. Well, we can learn from dogs about being faithful too. Did you know that? Let's see this slide. Well, this just helps us to appreciate a dog. Do you know that they're the most popular pet on the whole planet? And I would understand why. It says they evolved from a now extinct species of wolf. Maybe that's true. I don't really know. They can learn over 100 words and gestures. And that is really true. My dog knew so much. I used to tell my dog, go get the birds. Go to the bird feeder and get the squirrels off the bird feeder. And my dog would look at me and go, like, okay. And I would open the door and she'd run around to the backyard where the bird feeder was. She'd chase those squirrels away. Good dog, Maxie. Then I'd say, hey, Maxie, let's play hide and go seek. And so Maxie would sit and I'd say, stay right there, stay. I'm going to go hide. And I would run upstairs and I would hide in one of the kids' closets. And then I'd go, come find me. And I would wait and wait. And Maxie probably knew where I was, but she played it like a game. And she walked around the house and finally came up the stairs and pawed on the closet door. You're in there. Very smart. I used to get Maxie to do all kinds of tricks, and I'll tell you about that in a few more minutes. But dogs love to learn. They love to understand us. It seems like they know what we're saying. Another thing that Maxie could do when we'd walk is I would say, well, my daughter Heidi had learned the French word for sidewalk, which was trottoir. And I'm probably not pronouncing it that perfectly because I don't speak French. But she'd say, Maxie, trottoir. And Maxie would get off the street and back onto the sidewalk. It's pretty smart. So we used to say, our dog knows French. Watch, trottoir. And she'd get on the sidewalk. Okay, let's see the next slide. Well, we also know that dogs can outrun us. They can run faster than us. They can run and chase. The fastest breed of dog is a greyhound. My friend has a greyhound, and it's a rescue dog. You see, people use greyhound dogs like they do horses to race on a racetrack. But I don't think that's a great thing for them. And as they get older, they get tired quickly and they retire. They retire them. The speedy sight that hounds can reach is a top speed of 45 miles per hour within seconds of starting to run. So you might say, okay, they run fast, but how does that beat a cheetah? And a cheetah can go up to 70 miles an hour, but they can only keep this going for about 30 seconds. So 30 seconds is half a minute. But greyhounds can easily run at speeds in excess of 35 miles per hour or 7 whole miles. That's a very long time to run that fast. So despite the cheetah's head start, the dog would win in a race like that. It would have to be a mile-long race or a 7-mile race. But that makes you see the energy that God put and packed into this animal. Okay, let's see the next slide. Wonderful things about dogs. They can hear high-pitched sounds. In fact, there's a whistle I can blow that I don't hear anything. I'll blow it and it'll be like, whoo. Not even that. I'll just hear, whoo. But the dog will hear a very, very high pitch, higher than what my voice can do. And dogs can also hear 4 times the distance of a human. When I'm coming home, my dog knows I'm coming home before my car has gotten up the road. I just don't know how she does it, but I know she knows because she's gotten up from her nap. She's not sleeping anymore. She's sitting at the door and we haven't even pulled in and parked and she's ready. I just can tell that she heard us coming. Dogs use all their amazing senses to help them find threats, detect explosives, discover trapped survivors. Dogs are really helpful. Let's see the next slide. We'll find some more ways. Well, now this isn't exactly how they're helpful, but we'll come to that one after. But this is, and you can see the picture, some dogs don't like it when you're singing too high. And and they start howling along with you. And some dogs sing along to the music. If I'm playing my guitar, a dog might come along and ooh right beside me. And that could be any breed of dog. Even a Chihuahua knows how to howl. Now, why do dogs howl? Why do they say, "Hoo, woo, woo"? Do you know why? Because their initial breed that was a wolf would call all the wolves together, and they would be in packs. And so one of the lead dogs would call them through howling. So just remember that howling was a special way of communicating. So maybe when a dog hears us sing, "Ah," they think we're howling and they howl along. Isn't that amazing? Let's check out the next slide now. Yeah, look at all the howlers. They assemble their pack when they're howling. When one wolf begins to howl, like I said, other members join in, as if in song with their pack. This all-together howl is seen as a happy occasion, and they will run a long distance to join in. It's the concert. Oh! Music has a similar feel to the wolf chorus. When several instruments or voices play out in different pitches, it's somehow familiar to a dog because wolves tend to howl at different frequencies, much like a choir. So different frequencies, meaning some wolves, oh, and some wolves, oh, that's different heights. Woo! Different. So if you were to practice howling, maybe your mother would say, please go outside. You're disturbing me. But you would be practicing and strengthening your voice. It wouldn't be a bad thing. Let's see the next slide. So, like I was telling you about my dog Maxie and the sidewalk trottoir, studies have shown that dogs can learn over 100 words and gestures. So their intelligence is on par with a 2-year-old. In fact, dogs are easier to train than a 2-year-old. They're used for all kinds of jobs, military roles and assistance dogs, and they're clever and they're loyal. So I'm going to tell you another thing that my dog could do. I would say I would bring Maxie to school with me, and I would say, Maxie, give your paw. So the children could come up and shake hands with her. But I also taught her to give me 5, because that's what kids like. Give me 5. So you put up your hand like this, and Maxie would put her paw right on you. Give me 5. And that was just one of the many things she could do. Maxie roll over. Good dog. Maxie crawl. She didn't like crawling when she got older, but as a little puppy, crawling she could do very well, and she crawled. Maxie, play dead. Bang, bang. She'd lie down, but wag her tail, as if to say, I'm not really dead. I'm just playing dead. Wow. I learned so many things about her. But one of the things about dogs is that when you are sad, they sense it, they feel it. And one day I was feeling very sad. My children had grown up, and they were one of the younger daughters. My younger was at college. I hadn't heard from her. So I'm on the couch, and I think I was crying a little bit. And my dog came over and started to paw me, as if to say, don't cry, you've got me. How comforting. Isn't God nice? Let's see the next slide. Well, this is called Mabel Takes the Ferry. I used to read this book to the children at school. And everything that Mabel did in the story my dog Maxie could do. And if you look at the picture on the right, well, that's a real dog that is a Portuguese water dog. And my dog was not that breed, but she looked so much like that. Her name was Maxie, like I said. She lived for 17 years, but she could do all the tricks. She could get up on 2 feet and dance. She could give her paw. She could speak. If you said, speak, she didn't like to. She wasn't a barker. But if you said, come on, Maxie, speak, finally she'd go, ruff. That was it, one bark. She knew how to do lots of clever little tricks. And if you ever get a hold of this wonderful book, you would love seeing the tricks that this dog Mabel could do. Mabel got all the people in the restaurant to pay attention to her. All right, let's see the next slide. Another wonderful thing about dogs is that their noses can smell when we're sick. Yeah, dogs can smell cancer. We can take a closer look at why dogs are even interested in smelling cancer. Why would a dog want to smell it? There's something in it for them. You see, dogs have lived with people for a long time. I wouldn't say that many years it's written there. Not at all true. Dogs have lived with people, and people have sheltered them. So the dog wants to protect the man and keep them alive for their own good. We provide for them, and the dog uses his nose to protect us. And let's see the next slide now. See what that says. So, if something is wrong with us, if we are sick and we can't take care of the dog, that would make the dog lose its home. So there's a motivation, you could say, a reason why the dog is able to sense when we are sick and when we have cancer. And I won't read that whole thing right now. Let's look at the next picture. So here's a scientist doing study on, can this dog smell which one of these has cancer in it? And of course, the dog can tell. And their dog is trained to put his paw on the area that, yes, this one has cancer. He put a lot of different smells in there, and the dog found the one that had cancer. Let's see the next. But dogs are helpful for so many more reasons. I have a very close, she's a best friend, and my best friend is blind. And my best friend was born blind. She could never, ever, ever see. She doesn't know colors. She doesn't know shapes. She doesn't know what I look like, but she knows my heart. And this woman, who is probably not completely blind, but she's, impaired, they say, or she could be called legally blind. And this dog is helping her to get around. And that's really amazing and wonderful. They're not a GPS, they can't tell us exactly where we're going, but they can sense danger and they can protect us from cars and they can walk us safely on one side of the road to the other. Okay, let's see what else dogs do. Oh, this is a story you should look for on YouTube. It's called Pip the Guide Dog, and it is just adorable. But all the dogs that this rescue league uses, the dogs have to be well trained before they can be sent out to help a blind person. And if you get a chance to watch this little cartoon, it's not very long, but it's the cutest thing to see. This little dog wants to be a hero, and he cannot come to school until he's the right height. So guess what? I'm going to give you a little tiny hint. You see that little Pip dog under the measuring bar? He wants to be as tall as that bar. So you know what he does? He sticks his ear up. It's so cute. Puts his little ear up. I'm tall enough now. See, I just got taller. Pip the pup. Okay, so now let's see the next slide. Oh, this is the same kind of dog as Pip. It's a beautiful white lab. White labs are very easy to train. Wonderful dogs. Let's look at some more guide dogs. What other kind of dogs would they use to help people? Well, look at that. There's a whole lot of them. Here we have a German Shepherd, and we have to think for a minute, a Golden Retriever. Ooh. Now, German Shepherds, we have policemen around here that have German Shepherds because these German Shepherds know how to protect, how to keep gunmen away. They know how to take down a criminal, and they would give their life. They're such loyal animals. And the Golden Retriever is intelligent and gentle and also very easy to train. So these are different kinds of guide dogs. Let's see a couple more. Oh, poodles. Those are two different types of poodles. Poodles are very intelligent, so they can be used for many, many purposes in finding things, in protection, in training for school. A dog could be a comfort to a child at school, but the poodle is very good to have because some people are allergic to dogs, but they're not allergic to poodles. So they're not as allergenic. So that's a good thing. Let's see some more. Are there any more on my slide? Oh, that's one of my favorites. I love the Border Collie. The Border Collie. I used to work at a farm. It was called Heifer International, but the farm near me was called Overlook Farm. And the man that ran it had a dog like this. And oh boy, did we love to watch that dog go out in a field and herd sheep. And the dog knew exactly what to do, and every command brought the sheep into the gate, and then Dale could close the gate and reward his dog for a good job. So they're quick learners, and they're energetic. Let's see the next slide. So, as I mentioned, there are many types of dogs, and there are many types of assistance that they can give. They can be the guide for the blind. There can be hearing aid dogs. People who can't hear don't know the danger. They don't even know if the doorbell is ringing, for example, and the dog can help them know that someone's at the door. There's a seizure alert dog, and there are many stories, especially about children who are about to have a seizure, and the dog brings them to a chair and makes them sit down, pushes them over toward a couch or a chair and says, sit down. So then we have diabetes assistance dogs. The dog knows when the person's about to have a diabetic attack. Their sugar level is low, they're getting dizzy, and the dog can, again, push them over to a chair. Autism assistance. Children with autism don't like to socialize as much, and the dog can help them to feel safe. And then we have veteran service dogs. Veterans are people who have been out fighting in the war, and some of them have something called PTSD, which means that noises can trigger a memory of the war. A car backfiring could sound like a gun, and that could be disturbing. So that's just one of the ways, but the dog is a comfort to people who have been wounded in battle, either emotionally or physically. In fact, my children and I heard a long story about a veteran, a man who had been in the war, and his hands weren't working anymore, and he felt useless. And he holed up in his house. He wouldn't go out, and he just let his beard grow, let his house get messy. He was barely alive. He didn't want to live. But his neighbor heard his complaints about life and said, "You know what you need? You need a dog." And he said, "No way. Look at my hands. I don't even think I'm strong enough to hold a leash." She said, "You are too." So she brought him to the local dog shelter, and he found a dog that he named Ginny. And Ginny became a motive to live. And it's a true story that Ginny became not just a savior to this man, a helper that took him out of depression, but Ginny was a savior to cats. Ginny would find cats in warehouses and abandoned in dumps and bark at the owner, "Oh, oh, please, can we have a cat?" And they would bring home a cat and bring it back to health again and put it out to be sold. So it's a lovely story. And it all started with a veteran who was ready to give up on life. He needed something to love him and to show him that life is about love. Sometimes when people can't understand how God loves them, God uses other things, children, dogs. We can all be the instruments of God to show people that God is real and he loves them. Let's see the next slide. That might be it. Oh, that's it. The end. The dog's like, "I can go outside and play now. Goodbye." Well, I hope you liked that story and it got you to think about how good God is to create so many wonderful pets for us, especially dogs.